Hey, welcome to Board Game. Today I'm Brett. We're doing an unboxing of the Warhammer Underworlds Shadespire Spiteclaw Swarm, the latest warband for the Shadespire miniature game. I think a fantastic addition to Games Workshop's Warhammer world. Now, we've already done kind of a general playthrough and an unboxing of the main Shadespire game. We're going to show off this warband and see what's inside, kind of give our thoughts generally as to the figures and the cards within. Now, Shadespire is a very simple game, miniature game, where you go and you take your warband, battle out on a board, usually doing some sort of objectives like capturing some items, defeating the other opponents, all for points. Really simple game. Unlike the other Warhammer games, you don't need too many miniatures to play. Basically, everything you need is within one of these warbands. So this contains Spiteclaw Swarm. The Skaven edition to it includes 5 fighters, 5 fighter cards, 29 Spiteclaw Swarm, and 31 universal upgrade cards, ploy and objective cards. Easy to build miniatures that, of course, you then can paint yourself. So let's open up and show off what you get inside. So basically, since this is Skaven, I'm expecting something pretty straightforward on it. I would think this would be a warband that will do a lot with sneaking around and be rather quick and agile. Alright, let's look at the miniatures themselves. We got brown for these figures, very appropriate since, you know, they are rats. Miniatures look fantastic as always. I think these figures have some great detail. You can see, very easy to put together. We got nice little pegs and holes for everything to go together, snap together. And we've got even more to show off some really cool figures to add to your collection. What's nice is, this is also a great entry into the Age of Sigmar game. You can, of course, take these figures and then use them in your warbands to build out your army. So if you want some characters for your army, this always works as well. Pretty affordable and price-wise, not too bad. So this is actually a pretty easy game to get into, especially price-wise, which makes it fantastic. Of course, we got a nice little booklet. It tells us how to put everything together. The figures within. But really what we want to know is the cards. So this is Spiteclaw Swarm, deck 1 of 2. So let's open this up and show off what's inside. Of course, with this release, there's also sleeves that you can go and put for your cards, as well as dice for you to use in your game. So, alright, let's look at the cards themselves. I don't think I ever noticed that there's these numbers on the bottom. So we got Aversion to Death. So play this card after an attack. It takes a friendly fighter out of action. Push up to 20 fighters a hex each. So again, we got some speed here. So this makes sense. Exactly what we would expect. Skaven Courage. 3 friendly fighters. The same enemy. One of those friendly fighters can make an attack action. Kind of has the sneakness factor of the Skaven. First attack action with the range 1 to 2. The next activation is +1 damage. Again, playing off that sneakiness. Roll an extra defense dice for the first friendly fighter to be targeted by an attack action in the next activation. Alright, that's kind of cool. Alright, choose a friendly fighter adjacent to 2 or more friendly fighters. That fighter makes a charge action. Alright, we got the speed in there. This also makes sense. Choose a friendly fighter and put them on guard. Alright, I don't think of Skaven necessarily as defensive, but alright. Choose a friendly fighter. They switch places with an adjacent fighter. Now this makes a lot of sense, again, with Skaven being very quick in their attacks. So a lot of movement stuff, just like we thought there would be. So we got choose an enemy fighter and push them 1 hex. Again, we got the movement. Double the move characteristics of the first friendly fighter to make a move action in the next activation. They may not make a charge action. Once they've moved, they cannot be activated again in this phase. Again, we got some speed. It's exactly what we'd expect for Skaven. Friendly fighters out of action. Remove all wound tokens from them and place them on the starting hex. Awesome. Pretty cool one to bring back a character. Alright, first attack action and next activation comes characteristic and vice versa. Alright, so we got some attack. Play this card, attack again, and we'll make a friendly fighter out of action, roll of defense if the result would not normally be a success nor the damage. Alright, we got some defensive, them kind of dodging around. This makes sense. Choose an enemy fighter, roll an attack dice. Alright, with them as if they were a friendly fighter. That provides support for this. Okay, interesting. Choose a friendly fighter. If they're taken out of action in the next activation, you gain a glory point. Alright, some ways to score points. Play an upgrade card. Does not cost a glory point. Cool. This is a good thing. Alright, play this during an attack action with a range of 3 or greater. Characteristic of that attack action is, alright, Rebound. Reaction, play this during an enemy attack that would succeed. Defense dice. Attacker suffers the damage rather than the target, and neither fighter is driven back. Alright, that's pretty cool. Switch the damage around. Discarding a number of objective cards and draw that number of objective cards. That's kind of cool. Choose an enemy fighter, choose one of their upgrades, roll an attack dice. On a roll of those two, the upgrade is discarded. That can be very helpful. Desperate Gambit. When resolving the first attack action in the next activation phase, you and your opponent roll off. The winner chooses whether the attack action fails or succeeds. Interesting. Fighter can move through other fighters during a movement action, but must end their move in an empty space. Alright. Playing towards speed. This is what we expect. Reroll 1 attack dice each time this fighter makes an attack action. That's cool. Character isn't on a guard. Roll an extra defense dice when they are the target of an attack. Alright. So we got Hero Slayer. Even the mightiest foe can be slain. So +1 move. This makes sense. Defense characteristic changes. Okay, this makes sense. The fighter is holding an objective 5 in the third end phase. Score 2 glory points. Easy ways to score. On the battlefield, you can play a single ploy card. Alright. Alright, this is pretty much the same. If this fighter has 2 or more Cataphrane relics, they gain the following cumulative abilities. During an attack action, at target this fighter, reroll defense dice. During this fighter's attack action, reroll the attack dice. After this fighter's action, draw 2 power cards. And then the final one is gain 4 glory points. Shade Glass Hammer. This attack action is successful. Discard this upgrade on a critical attack hit. This attack does damage. We got Swarm of Rats, which fit very fitting for Skaven. Throwing Stars. The Assassins of Clan Escians favor this poison throwing star. And then Whirling Halberd. Targets all adjacent fighters. Roll for each. We get some more damage. Alright, so what we see exactly what we kind of expect. A lot of sneaking around, movement, and defensive cards. That's exactly what you'd expect for Skaven. And let's see the characters themselves, how they hold up, and what we think of them. Alright, we got Scritchet, Spiteclaw, some movement, some attack, some defense. Alright, so a player chooses fighter when using a ploy. So he's got Wicked Halberd. This gets the cleave. Place a friendly fighter that's taken out of action rather than Kirk on any starting hex or remove all their wounded counters. That could be pretty handy. Alright, player chooses a fighter when using a ploy. Second in command. Alright, well, nothing really special on that one. Lurking Skaven. Nothing else on that. Nothing else on that. Festering Skaven. Nothing else on that. But, what do we get for this? Nothing special. Nothing anything too crazy or special. So their attack's a little bit better. Alright, this defense gets a little bit better. If you roll at least one of this attack action as cleave, place a friendly fighter that was taken out of action, on any starting hex, remove all their wound counters. Okay. Interesting. It's generally, you know, not the strongest of group, but a lot of movement. Exactly what we'd expect from this warband. Alright, let's see what else we got as far as cards. We got Feast of Feasts. All enemy fighters in 2 or more warbands. Score this is the end phase if all enemy fighters have been taken out of action. Score immediately if your warband takes an enemy fighter out of the action while they are adjacent to none of your fighters. Score this at end phase if you score 2 or more objective cards in the preceding action phase. Score this at an end phase if no friendly fighter was taken out of action in the preceding action phase. Score this in the third end phase if your leader is in your territory and not adjacent to an enemy. Score this in the third end phase if only surviving friendly fighter is your leader. Score this at end phase if 2 or more friendly fighters were taken out of action in the preceding end phase. Score this in the third end phase if there are 5 friendly fighters in the battlefield. Score this immediately if your leader takes an enemy fighter out of action. Score this as an end phase if there are adjacent fighters on the battlefield. Score this end phase if your warband took 3 or more enemy fighters out of action in the preceding action phase. Score this immediately if a friendly fighter makes a move action of 6 or more hexes. Score this in end phase if 3 or more upgrade cards were played in the preceding action phase. And then you can get more if there's 5 or more upgrades. Score this in end phase if you scored an objective card, played a deploy card, and played an upgrade card in this round. Scores immediately if one of your fighters is target of an enemy attack action with the dice characteristics of 3 or more. Scores in end phase if you have no power cards in your hand. Scores in end phase if you hold every objective, through 4 if you hold 5 or more. Scores at end phase if all remaining enemy fighters, at least 3, have an upgrade. Scores at end phase if you hold objective 3, 4, and 5. Scores immediately if a friendly fighter takes an enemy fighter out of action with an attack action that has a damage characteristic of 1. And then, let's see here, Black Hunger. So this fighter's attack actions with a range of 1 have +1 damage. Target all adjacent fighters, friend and foe. Roll for each. Fighters do not provide support for attack actions against them. Alright, Bodyguard for a price. Through the Scritch is adjacent to his fighter. Scritch is on guard, even if Scritch has make a charge attack. Alright, reaction. During an attack action that will cause any damage to this fighter, you can remove them from the battlefield and deal 1 damage to their attacker. On a critical hit, the fighter's attack actions with a range of 1 or 2 have +2 damage. That's pretty cool. And this fighter, one adjacent friendly fighter, can make a move action. Both fighters must end their move further away from all enemy fighters. And then after an action that this fighter makes, you can push this fighter 1 hex. And then you can push this fighter 1 hex before they take an action, attack action, though not when this fighter takes a charge. So a nice way to get kind of a charge out of it. So overall, I think this is a lot of what we expect. We get not, the greatest warriors, but there's a lot of movement. There's a lot of sneaky stuff. The goals seem really interesting with, having your characters either close or away from the enemy. This overall, obviously brings a lot new strategy, very interesting strategy, the game of Shadespire. You can go get this now in stores. We've got some links underneath this video. They may or may not be affiliate links, I'm not quite sure yet, but if they are, we do, of course, get a slight percentage of that. But doing that, you help support our site, so thank you so much. As always, now if you're into miniature games, if you're into board games in general, you can check us out at boardgametoday.com. Right here on YouTube, you can subscribe, or Facebook, and of course, follow us on Twitter at BoardGameToday. As always, thanks so much for watching. Keep rolling those dice, and get your... Hey, thanks for watching this video. Now, what you can do that would be really helpful is subscribe or visit our website. We've got links right here that makes this super easy. By subscribing, you will make sure to get further videos down the road. And of course, visiting the website, you get all the greatest news. But just watching, we really, really appreciate it. Until next time, keep rolling those dice and keep it geeky.